Searching for answers beneath the gray sky. We need a blueprint, a faith-driven guide to anchor the soul where the faithful abide. This is the rules of life, a turning point for the weary soul, stepping out of darkness and becoming truly whole. When you release the past and you tune out the noise around you, that's where the Spirit of God has truly found you. It's a moment of change, finding the strength to stand and smile. Yeah, the heavy debt of yesterday, bitterness won't fade. We carry chains of grudges in the choices we had made, and every whisper tries to pull us off the path, fearing the judgment of man, inviting God's pure wrath. But the word says, let it go. Cast the revenge aside. Ignore. When the Lord is your soul guide. This is the rules of life. A turning point for the weary soul. Stepping out of darkness and becoming truly whole. When you release the past, yeah, you tune out the noise around you. That's where the
Tyrone
Spirit
Bowman
of God.
live. Welcome to the program tonight. Welcome to the conversation. I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to get started. I hope you all in the chat section can hear me. I know we had some problems with the volume on yesterday. Hopefully the sound is not muted today. If the sound is, what I'll do, I'll go off and then I'll come back on again. Well, it's now public news. It's circulating all throughout the nation and around the world and on social media as well. A new lawsuit has been filed against the Grammy award-winning gospel singer and pastor Donnie McClurkin, alleging serious sexual abuse by his former executive assistant, and the legal complaint is now public. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to give you a clear overview of what's known so far from reported sources that have already been talking about these accusations against Pastor Donnie McClurkin. So what is the basis of the lawsuit, who's involved in the lawsuit, and why? Now, I will say as we begin this conversation on tonight, just because someone has been allegedly accused of a crime or crimes does not mean that they are presumed to be guilty. Oftentimes, in a rush to judgment, all people have to do is hear something, they run with it, believing what they have heard, and they don't have any substantiated evidence whatsoever. So let's delve into the synopsis of this case. So the principal person involved is Pastor Donnie McClurkin, who is an internationally known gospel recording artist, Grammy award-winning artist, and he is the founding pastor of Perfecting Church in his city. And the plaintiff involved is Giuseppe Matthew Carletto. He is a former assistant of Pastor McClurkin, and he is alleging long-term abuse by Pastor Donnie McClurkin. The complainant this complaint is a civil lawsuit alleging SA and R over an extended period of time. Now, all this is presumably to be alleged at the moment. This lawsuit is not a criminal lawsuit. This is a civil lawsuit. Carletto claims McClurkin used his position as a pastor and mentor to coerce and abuse him beginning around 2007 and continuing through at least 2018. The alleged misconduct reportedly occurred in hotel rooms, private residences, and other settings while the pair traveled together on ministry or work-related trips. The suit references an email from 2013 in which McClurkin allegedly apologized, referring to himself as a, quote, desperately dirty old man, which Carletto claims confirms the abuse. Now, earlier, I think, according to the Christian Post, I'm going to read that that email. Earlier, I looked on the ChristianPost.com, and they had an actual copy of the email. So I'm going to pull it up, and let's see what's happening here. See, Christian Post. All right, here it is. Hope you all can hear me in the comment section. I don't know if you can or not. All right, this is according to the ChristianPost.com. Now, in this synopsis, let me just read this. So, in the 15-page complaint filed in the Supreme Court of the state of New York last Friday and reviewed by Christian Post, Carletto seeks compensatory damages for McClurkin's alleged violation of the Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Law, sexual battery, and sexual assault. Now, here is the actual email. Quote, hold on, because I want to quote it directly. All right, let me go back. Excuse me. Let me go back to this email. On this channel, I deal with facts. I don't deal with emotions. I don't deal with innuendos. I'm not going to deal with stuff that's been circulated online or a hypothesis of something that's made up. So if you want salacious dirt and garbage, you might want to go someplace else. But over here, I'm going to have an intelligent conversation regarding the alleged accusations lodged against Pastor Donnie McClurkin. All right, quote. I want to apologize for, now this is an email that Pastor McClurkin texts to Carletto. Quote, I want to apologize for all of my behavior that has been wrong and put you in a wrong place. I am the actual epitome of a desperate, dirty old man, pawning and G'ing a young man or groping a young man who is just looking for a friendship and close platonic relationship with someone he wants to look up to for help, guidance, and spirituality. McClurkin allegedly wrote in a copy of the email shared in the lawsuit, quote, I was trying to go to the realm of sexuality that wasn't right and wasn't right for you or me, or for that matter. I feel so foul, so stupid. I'm old enough to be your father and want to be something else to you. You don't have that desire for me, and I shouldn't have it for you. The email continues, I forced myself on you, groping on you, and when I think about it, you never really touched me like that at all. Just wanted to sleep together and hug occasionally. I am really embarrassed at how I am and how I acted. Now, if this email is in fact true, Pastor Donnie McClurkin has a problem. If this is a real, genuine, authentic email. So I'm dealing with the synopsis of the lawsuit that has been filed. So according to reports, the case is being brought under the New York City's general gender-motivated violence protection law, a statute that allows civil actions for sexual abuse even where the standard limitations period might have expired. Carletto is seeking unspecified monetary damages for emotional distress, physical harm, and other impacts. Now, this was alleged to have happened over 20 years ago. Now, according to McClurkin's attorney, has denied all allegations, calling the complaint, quote, categorically false, end quote, and asserting that the claims, quote, grossly mischaracterize, end quote, the nature of the interactions between McClurkin and Corletto. As early as of January 2026, this is a civil lawsuit and not a criminal charge. No court has made any ruling on the merits of the allegations. So one of the key points to understand that this is a civil complaint, meaning it seeks damages in a court of law, not criminal prosecution. Well, this is the question I have in mind. If you are saying someone did these things to you, and you are alleging that these things happen, why are you suing for money and not taking a person to court in a criminal complaint? Because it makes it appear like this individual is only doing this because, this is me just hypothesizing. He could have sent him a threatening blackmail letter. He could have tried to blackmail him privately behind closed doors. He could have asked for a large sum of money, and McClurkin probably said no. And if you don't pay me what I'm asking for, then I'm going to go public with this. It seems like this is a money shakedown scam here. And if the email is the only basis of alleged proof that he has, then that might be a problem as well. Because one thing a great defense attorney is going to ask, how do we know that this email is authentic? How do we know that this email is in fact an actual original email? And another question that his attorneys are going to present in civil court, why is it that this occurred allegedly when he was 21? You are 43 years old now, and you're just bringing these charges against Pastor Donnie McClurkin, who at the time would have been 45, because he's 65 years old now. So he would have been 45 years of age. Why didn't he call the police then and file a criminal complaint in the police department to the district attorney's office alleging that he was sexually assaulted and all these other things? You got to think, ladies and gentlemen. Many times, high-profile people are the victims of a shakedown. Not all, but in most instances, they are victims of blackmail. They're victims of shakedowns. People want money. These are desperate times. And when people are desperate, they're going to say and do desperate things. Be careful of your surroundings. Be careful where you go. Be careful who you associate with. Be careful of being in close quarters with people. You have to be very, very careful. And if it seems like people say, well, you just don't trust me, then guess what? Then I just don't trust you then. If we can't meet in a public place, in a public setting, where there's a large crowd of people, when you got all these hundreds of cameras in view, then guess what? We're not having no conversation. Because I'm always going to have a witness. In this case, in public view, you have like 5,000 witnesses because there are cameras all over every state, every city, every town that's capturing our every move 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So why is this lawsuit coming forth right now? Now, some people whose podcasts I have listened to, they automatically think that Donnie McClurkin is guilty. That is a wrong assumption to have. And by me being a law student, I have to deal with actual facts. I can't deal with emotions. I can't deal with of innuendos. I can't deal with hearsay. I have to deal with actual facts. And the fact is, there's a problem on both sides. Because if this was alleged to have happened, and if that email is in fact, once it's authenticated, if it's authenticated to say that it's a real email, then why did he send the email if nothing happened? So what is the current legal status? As early as of January today, this month, the lawsuit is civil and not criminal. It's a civil complaint. They want money. Break it down. Money, 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 and more money. That's what they want. Allegations relate to events reportedly spanning many years and involve claims of manipulation and abuse of power in a spiritual/mental context. The law invoked NYC Gender Motivated Violence Protection Law allows such civil claims beyond traditional civil statute limitations for certain abuse claims. Now, I do have some other things that's here that I'm going to talk about in a few moments because I think it's important to bring intelligence and clarity to the conversation. So to recap very briefly, Giuseppe Matthew Corletto was a former congregant and personal assistant to Pastor Donnie McClurkin of Perfecting Church. Donnie McClurkin is the founding pastor of Perfecting Church and a Grammy Award-winning gospel singer and pastor. The court was filed in New York City Supreme Court and the New York Civil Court, and it was filed the 2nd of January. Something smells rotten here. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. Tyrone Bowman live over. Almost said the name of the radio station I work for. Oops, I forgot I was on the radio. I was on the radio. Be right back.
Searching for answers beneath the gray sky. We need a blueprint, a faith-giving guide to anchor the soul where the faithful abide. This is the rules, a turning point for the weary soul, stepping out of darkness and becoming truly whole. When you release the past and you tune out the noise around you, that's where the Spirit of God has truly found you. It's a moment of change, finding the strength to stand and smile. Yesterday, bitterness won't fade. We carry chains of grudges in the choices we had made, and every whisper tries to pull us off the path, fearing the judgment of man, inviting God's pure wrath. But the word says, let it go. Cast the revenge aside. Ignore them all. When the Lord is your soul guide. This is the rules of life. A turning point for the weary soul. Stepping out of darkness and becoming truly whole. When you release the past, you tune out the noise around you. That's where the Spirit of God has truly found you. It's a moment of change, finding the strength to stand and smile. We look at others, wishing we had their place, trying to fast forward the blessings. Oh, yeah, in other days, in the live out his goodness everywhere you go. It takes the power of the Spirit to heal the weary soul. There, when the waves are crashing, let your spirit stay calm. The peace that passes knowledge is the ultimate healing balm. You must embrace the truth. It's on you to choose the way to walk in the purpose of God at the close of every day. And with the joy of the Lord as your strength, lift your heart and smile. Find your true alignment. Let the truth that sets you free. The rules of life written for you and me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Tyrone Bowman live. I am reading from the lawsuit that has been filed against Pastor Donnie McClurkin. And basically, I'm giving you the short version as to not to bore my audience. So I'm taking out the core allegations in the complaint, and I'm breaking them down so that we all can understand what's been going on here. Now, the core part of the complaint states that all this is alleged. Nothing is in fine print to substantiate any of the claims that Giuseppe Matthew Coletto is accusing Pastor McClurkin of. So Coletto alleges McClurkin groomed him after they met in 2003 when Coletto was 21 years old, and he came seeking spiritual guidance about his sexuality. According to Coletto, he claims that Pastor Donnie McClurkin allegedly used his position as pastor and mentor to initiate unwanted sexual contact during prayer and spiritual counseling. You know what? To me, that's kind of hard to believe. I'll just be honest with you. How is someone going to initiate something like this in a public setting with witnesses in purview? The complainant states unwanted acts began around 2007 and allegedly continued through 2015. You know, not so long ago, I reported about the great R&B singer, Motown recording artist Smokey Robinson, where several of his now former employees, 40 years later, accusing him of doing said same things against them. But what caught my attention was that they didn't take Smokey Robinson to criminal court. They took him to civil court, seeking almost $100 million in damages. Now, granted, these individuals not even Americans. Seems like they're trying to get a payday and trying to stop getting deported. And they're not going to get $100 million out of Smokey Robinson. Yes, I said it. They're not going to get $100 million out of Smokey Robinson. It's not going to happen. So it's good to pay attention to when things like this happen, because it could happen to you, somebody in your family, friends, associates, and people that you know whose character, without question, is of good moral conduct, whose integrity is not to be questioned. And the sad thing about it is, we never heard any such alleged things against Pastor McClurkin within the last 20 years. There haven't been anything. So why now? Only 2 days into the new year. This is methodically and meticulously planned at this moment in time. Mothers, if you have young men, your sons, you better teach them to be careful around their girlfriends. Because she may get mad because she can't get money for a weed, get money for this and that and the other thing. Next thing you know, she got your son hemmed up in court over some garbage, over some trash that never occurred. And 20 years later or 40 years later, she'll boo-hoo and cry and say, well, I was just mad and I was upset and I lied. Well, that don't cut it after you have destroyed somebody's life. It doesn't. In the Tyler Perry incident, this man is seeking $250 million. He must be crazy. He's not going to get $250 million out of Tyler Perry for a mere accusation and nothing ever happened between them. The plausibility factor of people rushing and going to civil court versus criminal court is really moot because they're seeking money. If you are a true victim of crime, you want that person punished. You want them tried. You want them locked up and thrown in prison. Talk back to me. That's what you want to happen. You don't rush to civil court if you say somebody has done something of a devious nature to you. And I don't think Donnie McClurkin is ever going to admit to any of these alleged allegations. Now, according to Carletto, he alleges alleged assaults occurred, and I'm not going to tell you, because they're too graphic. He alleges that unwanted touching began around 2007 and continued until 2015, and after he resigned as McClurkin's assistant. All right, let's rip this shreds. So you're no longer in his employ, and you said it still happened? Something don't make sense. How can somebody be close to you now that you no longer worked for them? If you have resigned as his assistant, then you immediately went to the police when you resigned and told them what you say happened. You don't wait 20 years later to talk about it. Carletto alleges assaults occurred in various locations, including church settings and hotel rooms during travel with McClurkin. Well, in civil court, you're going to have to prove it. You better have some videotape, receipts, blah, blah, yada, yada. You got to come with evidence. You got to come with receipts. You just can't say stuff about somebody and then can't back it up. One incident alleged in the complaint occurred in Niagara Falls in 2013, after which McClurkin reportedly sent an apology email. I think I read an excerpt from that. The complaint references an email McClurkin allegedly sent after the Niagara Falls incident, in which he reportedly called himself, quote, a desperate, dirty old man and apologized for his behavior. A point Carletto's attorneys cite as affirming wrongdoing. Affirming wrongdoing to what? The complaint recounts that McClurkin allegedly used guilt and spiritual language to keep Carletto in the relationship, including suggesting his deliverance and purposes were tied to staying with him. All right, now that right there sounds stupid. Just listen to that language. That doesn't even sound intelligent. Now the legal claims are asserted. So the suit is brought under New York City gender-motivated violence protection law, whatever that means. A civil statute that permits survivors of gender-based violent acts, including SA and abuse, to sue for money. Well, if people are suing for money, does money negate the fact that a criminal act occurred and that's supposed to make it feel a lot better because it gets some money? Is that the inference here? That the money is supposed to make the person forget about what's allegedly had taken place? So Coletto is seeking unspecified money damages for physical, emotional, psychological injuries. I have some other words that I could use, but I'm not going to. McClurkin's attorney, Greg Lissy, has denied all allegations, calling the claims categorically false and arguing they mischaracterize interactions between McClurkin and Coletto. So all the allegations, this is important to note, that I talked about, they come from the complainant file, from the file by the plaintiff and reported in media. They are not proven facts in court. And Pastor McClurkin continues to deny all allegations, which he should. If you didn't commit a crime, don't admit to a crime. If you know you're innocent, you don't accept the plea deal. You don't let nobody make you accept the plea deal. You don't agree to a plea deal. Make them prove it in the court of law. And then if you happen to lose the case in the court of law and you know you're still innocent, believe me, your innocence will be proven at some point in time. It will come out. So these are things that people need to know and understand. According to NBC News, the headline reads, Grammy-winning gospel singer and pastor accused of sexually abusing a young man. So that headline in itself is misleading. That is an attention grabber to make people think that this is a young person in question right now. It's deceptive. The headline is deceptive. Donnie McClurkin, a Grammy Award-winning gospel singer and pastor, SA'd a young man over several years and wrote an apology in email, declaring himself, blah, 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 a dirty old man, according to a new lawsuit. Giuseppe Coletto says he's an Italian, he's a Latin. He's a Latino young man. Well, man, 42-year-old man. This is a side profile of him. They don't show you too much of him. That's the side profile of Matthew Coletto. So we're going to find out what the underlying purpose of this lawsuit. Giuseppe Coletto says in the lawsuit that he was struggling to reconcile his sexuality with his faith when he sought out McClurkin in 2003. The lawsuit says Coletto, who was then 21, went to McClurkin's church in Long Island, New York, after reading his autobiographical book, which described how God helped him overcome the curse of homosexuality. At the church event, McClurkin talked about being raped as a child, which he was, by his uncle. And it had a traumatic effect on Donnie's life, which resonated with me because that's similar to my story, Coletto said in an interview with NBC News. He said he was brought to meet with McClurkin after the event, and the man took an immediate interest in him. At first, it was all very innocent and what I thought was mentoring, Coletto said in the interview. And now he believes he was being groomed from the start. The best way for anybody, if you're charged of anything like this, you need to get ahead of the story yourself. Especially if you're a high-profile person. Don't be afraid to face the press. Come out front, open your mouth, face the whole world, declaring to assert your innocence. You go down fighting. You don't let somebody destroy what you have worked for all your life, because this system will do that. It will systematically rip your life apart from within and from without. I said, hell with you. And for purposes of promotion. Anytime a preacher or gospel singer or people of faith are accused of doing anything wrong, the consensus of the mass population is just to believe it, especially if it involves church, or the Christian community. Just believe it. We don't care if it's true or not. Just believe what's said. Now, do some people in the religious communities do some terrible things? Without a doubt. And many of them are locked up and in prison for life right now. So before district attorneys and people set to go down the road to destroy someone's life, reputation, their life's work, make sure that what has been said against them is true and not false. Because once you destroy a person's life, it's hard to rebuild. I know what I'm talking about. I said, I know what I'm talking about. I have lived it. I know what it's like to have your whole life destroyed from within and from without, ripped to shreds, dragged from pillar to post, from court to court, falsely accused, falsely judged, falsely adjudicated, falsely sentenced, living in an 8x10 prison cell. If you think I'm lying, go to my channel called Breaking the Chains with Tyrone Bowman. You go over to that channel and you'll find stuff about my court case on that channel. And when they tried to get me to confess, I said, hell no. I would tell you exactly what I told them. I said, you ain't getting me to confess to a blanking mother effing thing. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. You can take that gun and blow my brains out with it. You never get a confession out of me. And I meant that thing. That's why I'm becoming a criminal defense attorney right now. So what happened to me doesn't have to happen to anybody else. And I will fight like hell for somebody that is innocent. And I will fight with every fiber of my being for true victims of crime. But I will destroy and obliterate a lying tongue that falsely accused somebody of something they did not do. Yeah, I said it. I will become a true criminal justice reform advocate. Not one who plays one on TV, but a real, genuine, authentic one. That's why I'm in school, to learn to do it the right way. So I have the letter to back up what mission I'm about to embark on. And that's why you hear me speaking with passion concerning Pastor Donnie McClurkin. Other commentators and people, they're not going to talk like this, but I am. You better be very well sure before going down this road that what's alleging, it better be factual in nature before you attempt to destroy this man's life, his reputation, his life's work, his church, and his ministry. Be sure you know what you're doing. I don't care if I don't get a whole lot of views on this. I don't care if this video don't go viral. I don't care if people don't like it. But I'm going to open my mouth and I'm going to speak for the causation of justice. So just because someone is alleged to have done something, that doesn't mean that they're guilty of it. It alleges nothing more than an allegation. It's an allegoric term, meaning it could be true and it might not be true. Now, according to this, they're stating this like it's a stipulated fact. Let me read this quote. McClurkin began to molest Coletto during, quote, pray the gay away, end quote, spiritual sessions, the lawsuit says. And the abuse escalated over the next several years. During this period, Coletto worked as McClurkin's assistant and regularly traveled with him, according to the lawsuit. This doesn't even say alleged. This is supposed to be a stipulated fact, according to them. How do you go from saying rape to molest? Those are different words. You know how many men right now, young and old, black and white, in between, are sitting in prison after having been falsely accused of rape, pedophilia, molestation? Let's talk about it. Sexual assault. A woman gets mad with her baby's daddy because he won't give her more money. to use on her man instead of the child in child support. What does she do? She calls his parole officer and said he tried to rape her. Next thing you know, they come and grip him up, charge him up, throw him in prison. Then she wants to have a come to Jesus moment, a Jesus moment after he's locked up and saying, "I lied." Well, your behind ought to be locked up. Any other time, people got a whole lot of stuff to say in the comment section when I'm talking about politics. But on this particular instance, they don't have nothing to say. Why? Because the mere consensus is to believe what's said about somebody? Hell no. I'm not going to believe it until you prove it. You got to prove it to me. Has to be proven. According to NBC, Carletto struggled to process these incidents of sexual abuse as McClurkin was both his mentor and employer, making it difficult for him to speak out about the abuse he had suffered, the lawsuit says. And McClurkin's attorney for McClurkin, who's now 66, said the allegations are categorically false. Quote, "This has come from his attorney. At no time did Pastor McClurkin engage in any form of sexual abuse, assault, or sexual coercion of Mr. Carletto." The attorney, Greg Lissy, said in a statement, "The claims set forth in the lawsuit grossly mischaracterized their interactions, which occurred over a decade, and some assertions over 2 decades ago. All these allegations are contradicted by the real facts." And I'm going to close by saying this. Something that's 20 years old, and he's saying the young man's not even a legend. He's saying it really happened. Well, now you got to prove it. I wish the best for both of them. Something is amiss here. Something is wrong. Something doesn't pass the smell test. You know, I was having a conversation with a couple of gentlemen a few weeks ago, and I told them these words. I said, y'all need to know when to shut the F up. Because you'll just say all kind of dumb, stupid stuff out of your mouths, and you don't know what the heck you're talking about. Now, my people think the more emotional that they are, the more they are to be believed. Your emotions don't mean that you're right. The howling, the screaming, the crying, falling all out in the street, in the ground, and acting erratic, that doesn't mean you're telling the truth. It doesn't. Some of the biggest liars are the most emotional people in the court of law. I'll keep you updated on this particular case here with Pastor Donnie McClurkin. Well, that's it for me for today. And I'm getting ready to transition because I have other things that have to be done behind the scenes before the day is over. So as always, never surrender, never quit.
When the waves are crashing,
I'm out, y'all. Peace.
driven guide to anchor the soul where the faithful abide. This is the rules, a turning point for the weary soul. Stepping out of darkness and coming truly whole. When you release the past and you tune out the noise around you, that's where the Spirit of God truly found you. It's a moment of change, finding the strength to stand and smile. Yeah, the heavy debt of yesterday, bitterness won't fade. We carry chains of grudges in the choices we had made. And every whisper tries to pull us off the path, fearing the judgment of man, inviting God's pure wrath. But the word says, let it go. whispering her